today, though, we are talking about Hollywood, which isn't all about lucky breaks or chance encounters with a casting director. For most, breaking into the industry actually takes strategy, hustle, and knowing where the real opportunities are. The authors behind a new book called Breaking into New Hollywood outline what people need to know to pursue their dreams in entertainment. Tseng and Healey are former LA Times editors with extensive experience covering show business. They're the authors of this new book, which I understand you guys were working on a series, and you said this should be a book. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being with us.
So I think it's fascinating. You're not just talking about actors and actresses. You go behind the scenes. There's so many different types of careers for people. I think people in their mind, they think, oh, I'll go to Hollywood and I'll walk through the mall and I'll just be discovered. But there's a lot more to it than that, isn't there, Ada?
Yeah, I think the thing with Hollywood is there's a huge gap between what we see as an outsider, with all the glamour, the red carpets and all that stuff. And you know, the stories like that, like, oh, I got discovered, because there's the greatest stories. Right. But as you know, people who live in Southern California who have friends and neighbors in the industry, we know it's just, it's a struggle, but it's like a really beautiful struggle.
Absolutely. And John, you guys, I feel like, wanted to paint a really realistic portrayal. Not only do you cover jobs in front of the camera, which we typically think of when people say they want to work in Hollywood, you cover the jobs behind the camera, but you also talk unions. You talk about working freelance. I think you guys cover a lot of things that aren't included in the Hollywood dream.
Well, I think everybody who wants to be involved in Hollywood has an amorphous idea of what it is.
Right.
And what we try to do is say, okay, here are the things that are available, and if you do this, these are the sort of skills you have. These are the sort of interests you have, so people can try and match themselves to maybe this is the sort of thing that would fit for them.
You dive into, and I'm just curious, when we're talking about, obviously we saw all these strikes happen recently within the industry. We've now got AI, you have social media, you have all these different things, streaming. The industry is changing very, very rapidly. How were you able in the book to kind of keep up with all the changes that are happening almost every day in the industry?
That was the biggest struggle.
She's like, don't make me revisit that.
As editors, I'm sure you felt that.
Well, yeah, because we're journalists, so we're very we have short attention spans, and we're used to things coming out very, very quickly.
Yeah.
So when we had
we understand.
Yeah. When we had to turn into the book, that was the most horrifying thing, being like, how is this going to work? Like, you know, if we're working on it 2023, how's it going to work in 2025 and beyond? But at the end of the day, I think we just had to let that go for a little bit, because Hollywood changes so fast. And in some ways, we're just trying to, you know, have like a little time capsule and then give the context for everybody else. Because at the end of the day, like, nobody knows what's going to happen. But if you're somebody new coming to the industry, like, at least we're sharing what everybody else knows as we're going ahead to the future.
We made a point to talk to people who were brand new and people who were veterans. And one of the things that was entirely in common was they all talked about the importance of networking. The people you know, putting yourself in a position to meet those people.
Yeah.
Making friends with as many people as you can, whether you think it's relevant or not.
Right.
That's been true for years, and it will continue to be true.
Interesting. Yeah. I think, as we talked about, you walked into a mall, you moved to LA, you walk into a mall, you get discovered, was the vision of breaking into Hollywood. The point of this book is to show a more realistic portrayal. So what is the short version? What are some of the keys besides networking that really make or break it when it comes to someone getting into the industry?
Well, there are some technical things. Every job has its own set of requirements. And so I was surprised to the degree to which DIY is now a possibility for training yourself. It used to be that, okay, you got to go to film school or you have to go to a trade school to learn how to do this. But I was talking to electricians, to camera people, and they would say, no, there are plenty of videos on YouTube now.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say YouTube, and you can teach yourself.
So that's one thing. Get to know the skills that are involved.
Yeah, and the other thing is, everybody told us you need to know what every single other department knows in Hollywood, because it's such a collaborative industry. So I think that's what we thought this book would help with. Like, you can go, if you want to be an actor, you can read the actor's chapter. If you want to be like a location manager, costume designer, you can read that chapter. But if you want to do these jobs, you need to know how everybody else works. So you can all come together and be very efficient when there's like a short time to shoot or a short time to do anything.
Yeah, because you don't have the luxury of time a lot of times
That's right.
in these movies and TV shows. Are there some jobs that are becoming easier to get, and which jobs are becoming a little harder to get?
I don't think that any job is easy to get. And it really depends on where you are, because things are tough right now in LA. But there are other parts of the country where there's still a growing film industry. Really, the productions chase the tax credits.
Right.
So if you're wedded to being in LA, that puts you kind of at a disadvantage. If
Right.
you're willing to move, that can be helpful.
Absolutely. I think what's also so important about this book is no matter how hard we tell people it is to be in that industry, people will always want to be in Hollywood, right? They're never going to escape that glamour. So I'm glad you guys put some reality to it.
Great
we
cover.
love the cover of the book.
I love
It
the
actually is
color.
really catchy and beautiful. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I think this is like key to everyone who moves to LA who wants to be a star. So I think it's going to be a big hit. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you
for
so
having me.
much.